Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's summit that was held in Samarkand over the weekend. But before I do that, please subscribe to Conversations, like this video, and share it with your friends. SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, is one of the world's, or actually the world's biggest regional organization. It covers mostly the Eurasia, Central Asia region. And some of the big nations in the world, major powers, nuclear powers like Russia, India, China, and even Pakistan are members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. There were 8 members. Iran has been added as of 15 September this year. So it has 9 members. It claims that it is basically 40% of the world's population and 30% of the global GDP. So the sheer size in terms of population and GDP makes SCO a significant global player, so to speak. But what is also interesting is that all the members are non-Western countries. So in a way, it is an organization that is led by China. It's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and some people view it as an alternative to international organizations and institutions that have been created by the United States and its Western allies. So in this brief commentary on the summit that was held in Samarkand in Uzbekistan, I want to talk about 5 key issues, 5 takeaways that I have from that summit. And I will be paying special attention to the role of India and how it impacts India, and how the United States should potentially view the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and its current summit. So starting, I think the first thing that should be very clear is that from an American point of view, if you were to consider countries which the United States has a lot of problem with in foreign affairs, such as the rising power of China and its challenges to U.S. Hegemony worldwide, Russia with its invasion of Ukraine and as a nuclear power is always seen as a military threat to Western interests and the United States interest in many parts of the world, particularly the Middle East and Central Asia and Eastern Europe. And of course, Iran is also seen as a challenger to the United States in the Middle East. And increasingly, there are questions about U.S. relations with Turkey, which some people describe as a frenemy. And even though Turkey is a partner in NATO, is a member of NATO, is an ally of the United States, formal ally of the United States and Western countries, and has actually played a very good role for NATO in the current encounter between Russia and Ukraine. Yet, for the United States foreign policy, it is a source of some hurdles. And so all these 4 countries, which the United States is particularly concerned about, were all in Samarkand. So in a way, you could argue that SCO is a basket in which all the eggs that the United States does not like are there: Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey. That's my first takeaway. It should be of great concern to Washington what these countries are talking about. Number 2, the United States has tried very hard in the past 7-8 months since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, not just the US, but also Europe and NATO and European Union. They have tried their best to isolate Russia, put economic pressure on Russia, try to make Russia a pariah state in order to pressure Russia to basically withdraw from Russia, Ukraine, and the war. So this process of delegitimizing Russia, there have been talks of removing Russia from the United Nations, expelling it from Security Council, and so on. Russians haven't been allowed to play even in the Wimbledon. So there's a concerted effort to marginalize and make Russia a pariah state. And similarly, the sanctions that the US has imposed on Iran also is an effort to make Iran a pariah state. And now you suddenly find one of the world's biggest regional organizations, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, giving legitimacy to both these countries, to Russia and Iran. So in that sense, SCO is an institution which is undermining US foreign policy in a significant way by giving significant attention to countries that the United States seeks to discipline. So if you look at what happened at the SCO, Iran was inducted as a member, is now a new member of SCO. So it is part of a major international organization. It's part of a community. So much for marginalizing and isolating it. And Putin was treated as a superstar at Samarkand. Everybody wanted to meet with him. There were bilateral meetings with India, with China. Putin met with Modi, with Xi Jinping, first time after the war started. So in that sense, this is a blow to U.S. efforts to reduce the significance of Russia and isolate it. The third point that I want to make is with regards to India. If India was not part of SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, then you could actually label the SCO as a club of authoritarian states, revisionist states which are challenging the international order, which are resisting US hegemony, and maybe even are antithetical to Western universal democratic values. But the fact that India is part of SCO, India is the world's largest democracy, India brings a gravitas to SCO, and it also deconstructs this idea that the world is now divided into two groups. One is a democratic group led by the United States, and another a group of authoritarian states led by China. India's presence in the SCO clearly prevents anybody from making the credible argument that SCO is a club of authoritarian states. So in that sense, India brings some democratic legitimacy to SCO, even though it is probably the only reasonably functioning democracy from among all the states. The second thing that India does is that India's presence there is very critical, because India is, in a way, at least from the Indian analyst perspective, the strategic thinkers in India think that if India were to withdraw from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, then it will leave the entire Central Asian region essentially susceptible to Chinese hegemony and domination. And if the war in Ukraine were to make Russia a weaker player, much weaker than, and some people are saying that it might become a vassal state to Iran, to China, then China will become a dominant player in Central Asia, and has tremendous implications for trade and supply chains, etc. Another reason why India is very interested in SCO is India is an Asian nation. It's an Asian power. And if it were to completely isolate itself from Asian organizations and become part of just the Western alliance, India is never going to become a Western country, but it could be a Western ally, part of the Indo-Pacific strategic dialogue, I2, U2, etc. But India will never become a Western country. So India cannot make itself a pariah in its own backyard. So in that sense, India will have to remain, and it is, a participant in all major developments in its region. Is SCO the face of the rest? There is no Western country in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and some of the key players, other than India, are all players who have been targeted by Western policies, by Western sanctions in some way or the other. Right now, whether it is China, Russia, Iran, or Turkey, they all, including Pakistan, have experienced some kind of sanctions from the United States, even though Pakistan also receives a lot of aid and Turkey is a partner in NATO. But nevertheless, all the countries in SCO are non-Western countries. They are the leaders of the non-Western world. So the question is SCO now the face of the rest? Is this an organization that is going to represent the interests of the non-Western world? I have a feeling that with the rising power of China, yes, if China makes Asian nations and Central Asian nations nervous, and insecure, then they might indulge in hedging policies and allow to have positive relations even with Western countries. But if China is seen as a good partner, a good trading partner, good development partner, good investor, and also not a security threat, then it is quite possible that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization can become the face of the rest. It is in the interest of the United States and the Western countries to try and build relations with Central Asia. The United States has good relations with Uzbekistan, and increasingly Kazakhstan has shown nervousness with regards to Russia. And so it is an opportunity for the United States and Western countries to increase relations and ties with Kazakhstan to ensure that a bloc is not crystallized that can be thought of as the rest. But if the policies that are currently being pursued by the United States and West, where concessions are made to Europe to buy Russian energy and Russian oil, while demands are made of Asian countries to make sacrifices for Ukraine, if this kind of pressure is put on on Asian nations, it is quite possible that they will begin to see the SCO as an avenue through which they can express their discontents with the global order. It is also possible that, as many thinkers begin to think, that we are in a state of transition, the global balance of power is shifting, and so as Western power and US power declines relatively, and China's power and India's power rises significantly, and if India continues to play the role of being on both sides, then it is quite possible that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization will indeed become the face of the rest of the world, and as an alternative to Western international system. And finally, SCO and its fortunes are indicative of the rising power of China. The fact that SCO is attracting critical countries like India, like Turkey, and Iran, countries which have significant global impact. They are big economies. They are powerful countries. They are also willing to stand up to Eurocentric views of the world, is an indication that China is slowly beginning to take a leadership role among the world's nations who are disenchanted with the West. So all of those countries in non-Western geography who are unhappy with the Western order, with the international liberal order, may eventually gravitate towards SCO and empower China. I suspect that China has to rethink its foreign policy vis-a-vis its neighbors. The fact that many countries in Southeast Asia are so nervous about China and its aggression, and the trillions it is spending in developing economic ties with many countries in the region, it still continues to make countries in the region feel insecure. Its aggression towards Taiwan, Philippines, South Korea, when these countries in Japan, when they feel nervous, it undermines China's capacity to emerge as a leader of Asia, as a leader of the rest of the world. So perhaps the SCO gives China an opportunity to reset its leadership style. I don't know how far it goes. And the fact that India is going to be the next chairman and will be the host of SCO next year, and Iran will be a full member for the first time. It is interesting to see how SCO goes. I think what happens with SCO will serve as a barometer of the changing global order. So I hope you found this conversation interesting. I hope you will subscribe to the channel and you will share the video with your friends. Thank you very much. Until next time, this is Muqtedar Khan for Khanversations.